Okay, cool. Hello, everybody. It's me again, back with another design tutorial. I think people wanted to talk about me talk about design a little bit. Things I do with design and designing background characters and things like that. And you can see I've got a lovely assortment of background characters here. You might recognize this page. This is from the last book. Quite like this page. It came out good, and instead of just like trying to design stuff from scratch like I've done before, like drawing a page from scratch or drawing people from scratch, I think instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about this page and the decisions I made, and then try to talk about like design in general. And I'm actually just going to mark this up with a whole bunch of little notes and sketches and stuff, and then I'll post this PSD for you guys so you can check it out in detail. And just my process, my design process of like what I thought about when going through this page, when designing this page. Not going to talk about coloring or composition or anything, even though I could. Just going to talk about design and the design decisions and what I've made here. I'd love to do another one on coloring and composition, something kind of fun. I've set this layer a little bit to see it's a little bit lighter than normal. It's put a little transparency on it so it's easier to see when I draw over it in this lovely lime green here. And I am on a different mic. I had a lovely headset which broke, and unfortunately my laptop only has one input here, and my mic has a double input, and I don't have a splitter with me, so I need to fix that. But in the meantime, I'm using my internal microphone, so if I'm a bit quiet or if you guys hear my like keyboard sounds occasionally, I do apologize. Okay, well, without further ado, let's talk about this. Let's make some notes. Let's mess this up, and I've also got a little tab here. I'm going to show you guys some stuff. So what I want to think about is whenever I design something for the comic, right? I think there are two things. I had good think about this. There are two things I'm kind of thinking about. Let's do a little thing. And the two things I'm thinking about, two principles. Oh, we're going to mess this up. Is that right, principles? Yeah. Two principles. One, the first one is, and you need to, design can help set tone. I guess these are kind of the same principle. Tone, and you want your design to be evocative. And I guess the first one actually helps with the second. They're sort of the same thing that I gave it smaller. They're sort of the same thing, to be honest. Let's go to a different resolution here. Got a bit of input lag, which I don't like. But that's okay. Tone, and you want it to be evocative. You want it to be to give the person an idea of something. So let's zoom out a bit here. You can see my street here. Oh, and the last thing I will say, actually, my other point I want to get across here is, which we're going to talk about in a second. Oh, it's so small. Changed my mind. Do I have smoothing on? No. Okay, something's going on. Sorry, guys. I haven't drawn on this computer for a while. You want a reference. Reference. Please God, reference. As much as possible. Very important. No artist draws from scratch. Every artist uses references because art is naturally a relative practice, right? You're always drawing on inspirations and things you've seen before. This street, okay, this street right here, I've been here, okay? I'm about to show it to you. But this is a thing that I've had experiences. This is actually this is an arcade. What you know is an arcade. And it's not doesn't mean like a video game arcade, like a shopping arcade, like it's a covered area. They're very common in Asia. I spend a lot of time in Asia. As you can probably see by this picture, it's very evocative, right? Evocative of that. I lived for 2 years in Japan. I studied in China for a while, and I was always going to these little shopping arcades. A lot of Throne is actually kind of drawn on my experiences of like being somebody who is a student or living in a foreign country or working in a place where I'm not speaking the primary language and being a foreigner in is a really interesting experience. And so like poor Allison is basically a foreigner, right, in this area, and so her whole experience with Throne is sort of pulling from my own experience traveling in Asia. And you got to be careful about that because I mean, to some degree, the reason you want to reference and be so careful about your work is you want to be evocative and you want to get the tone of things, but you also want to be respectful towards what you're trying to evoke, right? If I put like fake Japanese in here, I mean there's kind of some fake Chinese in here and stuff, but like it's not like I'm trying to avoid a concept we call Orientalism, which is exoticizing the foreign and the strange. This has got done a lot, and you know, to be fair, I think I benefit from Orientalism quite a bit. I do use it in my work. I don't know how harmful it is. It's something I always think about in terms of like when an American looks at this kind of street, they think, oh, it's so weird and exotic and alien. But this is really a real place where people spend a lot of time. I try to pull more on. I try to make it either push it in a weird direction, so I'm not just making some kind of weird fantasy Japan or fantasy China here. I don't think anyone would say thrown for China, given its constituents. Like I don't have any like weird, you know, racist caricatures in here or anything. I try to push in a weird connection, and I try to make it syncretic. I try to make it based on real things, and also like a kind of synthesis of my experience rather than trying to exoticize a fantastic place. This isn't actually a fantastic place instead of a real place which I'm trying to exoticize. Does that make sense? Like I'm not trying to say this is Japan here. This is a weird alien fantasy realm. But you always have to be aware of that. Careful with that, especially when you're doing stuff like I do. Wow, we got really sidetracked there. Sorry, I just wanted to mention that real quick. You just want to be careful when you're referencing stuff, and but also to be true as possible. So what's going on here? What is the street? I'll show you. This is a street called Dotonbori in Japan, in Osaka. Very famous. It might look familiar. Certainly not the same. But you see what I'm saying? I've physically been here. I mean, I've actually walked on this actual street in the picture. Very popular tourist destination. And you can see all these common components here, right? There's this giant fish, you know, all the signs. They got this protruding advertisement stuff coming out. The light, the neon is really strong. The crowd, like all the light and stuff. That's, you know, the overhanging canopies here. Kind of very stark, very like concrete, very almost like brutalist buildings behind them. There's not really much going on in the buildings here. It's mostly just the external bit. You can see a lot of that here, right? We got the, you know, we got this, we got the little protruding guys, we got the canopies, right? This is all a visual language. Let's pick a different street. This is Khao Road in Cambodia. Also another place I've been. Kind of different, but you can see it's similar thing where you got all these crazy signs, got these canopies, these market stalls, you know, people walking back and forth. It's kind of hot. 7-Eleven here. Is there a McDonald's? Yeah, check it out. The D&D Inn, that's exciting. Yeah, all this stuff, right? Here's another one. This is East Nanjing Road, another place I've been, in China. And you can see a lot of the same components, right? And just so I'm not pulling from solely Asian influences here, I mean, there's other places like New York, right? This is Times Square. Kind of a different vibe, more cyberpunk than anything. Like very big city. And then we have Los Angeles, another street I've been on. I really like this picture. I think this is kind of an influence on like the end of book 3 thrown, like with the sunset and everything. But like you can see all the different components, the signs and everything. That sense of like neon, like urban closeness, tight city streets, right? Market and stuff. That is what I'm trying to evoke, right? So we got like these neon signs. We got the these symbols. Nothing is in English, but there's a little bit of English, right? Why is there English in the throne? I don't know. I don't know. But that's the sense that you go when you walk through these streets. Sometimes you recognize a little bit of English, and it's very weird. It's very disorienting. I wanted to kind of replicate that experience. There's an arcade here, an actual arcade with video games. From my time in Japan, I used to see these arcades all the time. Right, I'm trying to use the visual language of this street, right? I'm trying to use the visual language of this street, of Khaosan Road, of Dotonbori, to evoke these places, right? And I want to evoke a certain tone. The tone is going to be like gritty, probably populous, hot, maybe. I don't know. It doesn't look like a super. Well, it kind of looks hot. Alien. I don't really find this particularly alien, this street, but I'm not going to use that language to evoke that. I'll talk a second about that. But what else? We want to feel isolated. Busy. You know, this is a damn busy street. There's lots of stuff going on here, right? This is clearly like a market of some kind. I want it to be a little bit seedy. Dotonbori is a little bit seedy. Khaosan Road is very seedy. This is a real place. It's very touristy, and you have lots of dudes coming up to you on the street giving you mysterious catalogs. It's not great. I wouldn't stay here if I went to Cambodia, by the way. Oh, sorry, to Thailand. Jesus Christ. This is in Thailand. Oh, I feel bad. Cambodia was similar. Phnom Penh is also kind of, I don't know, but it's a poor country. I shouldn't really say stuff like that. It's also a beautiful place. You should definitely visit Cambodia if you get the chance, but please be respectful. Yeah, so that's the tone I'm trying to evoke, right? And I want things that are evocative of this. Does that make sense? It kind of feeds into itself. So I'm using it as visual language, right? I've got these signs. So I'm a bit rambly here. So these signs. I've got this like arcade. These are shops. This is a ramen shop. I always put ramen shops. I love noodle shops. There was a ton of ramen shops in Japan where I was. I loved them. This is just garlic. And there's like a pan hanging here, you know? You can clearly see it. Like this is a store. This is like a grocer. Right? You can see they got the boxes of vegetables. Here's the guy, here's the owner, right? He's hanging on a stool. I saw lots of people sitting on stools when I stayed and studied in Shanghai for a while. People just like sit in the street and smoke. And it's interesting. It creates this like weird public space in the street. Even at like 10 p.m. there's like people outside hanging out, which I thought was really cool. Man, I'm just looking back at this again. Be careful with this, guys. I'm really guilty of it. What else I got? Oh, we have a little shrine here. There are shrines all over the place in Japan. I love it. They're in like places you wouldn't expect. They're like in arcades, they're in fields. The sense of like public and private space is really mixed in Japan, and the sense of like you could just stumble onto a shrine anywhere is really prevalent, no matter where you are. So I like the idea in a throne that there are just shrines just hanging out, like little back alleys like this. We have a poster here. This is actually a Bollywood poster. I love Bollywood posters, and so I stuck one in here. This is kind of supposed to evoke that sort of classic Bollywood thing. And then we've got like, what else do we have? So yeah, I'm trying to think of the director. Oh yeah, here's an actual 10 Tenma Gate, kinda, which is a Japanese shrine gate. You can see there's actually a little shrine back here too. There's some greenery here. Yeah, so that's a lot of stuff. So what else? For gritty stuff, right? Everything's in disrepair, right? It's not all new. It's not a brand new street. We got cobbles on the street, right? It's not paved. It gives it kind of like old school feel. But we have some like modern stuff too, right? We've got some modern text. It's not like medieval. I mean, I think there's like a lady on her phone down. It was like this is like an arcade machine right here, right? So we're setting that tone. What's the sense that it's busy and it's alien. I think this is really important, especially for fantasy stuff. You want to make sure that you're not just having a regular street. Ooh, jeez. Thinking and writing at the same time. You want not just having a regular street. You got a weird street. I mean, there's a giant head, right? This is not a real street. This is what kind of helps you avoid this, right here. Okay, if you make it actually strange and alien, then it helps to avoid trying to evoke a real world setting in a kind of exploitative way. There's a giant head here, right? What the hell is going on with that? It's a god. We know it's a god because it's thrown, but and it's kind of weird and alien looking, right? It's got these weird eyes, you know. It's got this weird skull, and there's an elephant back here, right? This is clearly just an elephant, but it's a skull elephant. It's got a human skull. Ooh, that makes it kind of weird and alien. We don't have skull elephants, right? And we've got all kinds of alien creatures, right? We got the kind people here. We got this lizard man. We got this guy. I have no idea what he is. We got a kappa, kind of like a turtle man, right? We got one of the Zixo Vong here. This is a bug race that I just made up. We've got a goblin, right? We got this guy. I kind of did a joke here with this is a monkey with a man's face and a man with a monkey face, which I thought was kind of fun. This is just what I do when I'm bored. Got these like weird dudes in the right, well, like non-human weird alien creatures. Something you got to avoid, by the way. Talking about Orientalism, don't do this thing where you code foreign people as alien creatures. It's bad. Something I'm also trying to actively avoid in my work and don't always do the best job as. It's just something pervasive in fantasy fiction, right? Like foreign people are often coded as like elves or orcs or dwarves or halflings, whereas like white Western people are coded as just human. And I have actually a lot of people here of different ethnicities in my picture, so I'm trying to avoid that. But it is important. You got to be really careful about that. But yeah, I got these alien creatures. So you have that weird and alien feel. The language is unrecognizable, right? Can't read anything. And that helps the alien part of it. How about the seedy part? Oh, populous and busy. That's pretty easy. We just filled the street up with stuff. How about seedy? Why does this look seedy? Well, it's kind of dark. It's dark. It's kind of weird. And it's kind of sexual. There are prostitutes here, clearly. Or sex workers, right? They're just hanging out. She's like reading her phone. See, an old book. This is I think this is a glyphosphere book. which we haven't really gotten into the comic, but it's kind of like the internet. Oh, this guy's a pilgrim. One of the things I do, by the way, is I pick a design, and I just build stuff off of that design. So I had a shrine, right? Shrine's got to have a pilgrim, right? There's a pilgrim visiting the shrine. He's got a little bell. He's got a little portable shrine on his back. Right? I got some sex workers here. I got some prostitutes, and I got a madame over here. Right? She's got some like sexy pictures, and some customers, right? It helps like the seedy atmosphere of this place, right? This kind of alley. This lady is based on real people that hang out here. If you ever go to Thailand, there is unfortunately a thriving sex industry that is incredibly exploitative, but it is present. So when you show up, you will find it exists to an extent in this city too, and definitely in this city. I would find a picture of Las Vegas here, but I don't have it. But all big cities kind of have one. But like specifically in my experience, traveling, I ran into it. This kind of thing where people come up to you and show you a little brochure in the street. This is a real thing that happens. And what else do we have? We got this kind of business area. It's like a market. We got a merchant here of some kind, like a wealthy guy, right? Rich guy. He's got like a chain. He's got a cravat, pocket watch. He's got a servant. So again, I'm pulling on part of the design to add another design, right? If we have a merchant, we're going to have a servant. He's holding this umbrella to cover him. This is like a Japanese umbrella. Like a folding umbrella. This person here, I imagine is some kind of sorceress, but she's got like packages, right? People are walking around. What else do we have? A lot of stuff, right? But yeah, we're building all this stuff up. We have a lower floor with all these businesses, and we got an upper floor, and there's like a restaurant up here, right? So I wanted to make all these people a little more normal looking as a waiter. Again, if we have a restaurant, we need to have a waiter. What do we have here? Also, we got a sumo wrestler, and he's got kabuki makeup. This is Japanese. We got the Monkey King. It's just the Monkey King, guys. And not literally in the fiction, this is the Monkey King. Monkey King does not exist in the throne, but that's a design I'm kind of pulling from. If we have a grocery store, we have to have a grocer, right? If we have a weird madame and prostitutes, then we have to have customers. If we have a ramen shop, there's got to be customers in there, hanging out. So that's kind of how I approach it. Pardon me. That's kind of how I approach it. Right? We pick what we want to evoke and the tone we want to set, which is kind of the same thing, I guess. We pick elements we want to draw on, and we kind of build it out from there. We like decide what we're going to put in our drawing. And I wish I could do this from scratch, but it will take a long time. But I hope this is very helpful to kind of think about. I hope these notes are kind of helpful. You pick design elements. You start with an experience or an image or something. For me, it was these kinds of streets that I've been in Asia and in the U.S. Really populous, like lit streets and stuff. And building off of that and thinking like borrowing stuff. right? And then thinking about other things I wanted to evoke, right? Not just like that, but like an alien environment, a sea, a busy one. I'm adding this like shrine. I got these other stuff to add. I've got the sex work and all this other stuff. I got the restaurants. I got the guy hanging out in the restaurant. Right? All that kind of builds in itself. And that's how you kind of create this tone, which is important to good design, right? If you look at this, you kind of know where it is, right? It's based on a place in the real world, and the elements are based on places in the real world, right? I mean, I could talk more about individual characters and stuff in here, but like a lot of them are just pulled from like different cultures and time periods and animals and other stuff. Just real world, again, references, right? Make sure you reference your own experiences, your own imagination, and just Google or just look up stuff. You want to don't trace. Just look at it. What's the important components here? What evokes the tone, the setting, the kind of thing that you're looking for, and try and build from there. As always, guys, this has been a bit rambly. I hope this is helpful. I'll save this as a JPEG and I'll drop it, or as a PSD even. I'll drop it in the tutorial afterwards, so you can kind of pour over my weird sketches. Yeah, and maybe I'll write down here. We got Khaosan Road is what this is based on, and Dotonbori in Japan, and East Nanjing Road. And also kind of Sunset Strip in LA. And Vegas, very important component of any enormous populated, filthy city. Let me know what you think, guys. I'll come up with another tutorial. I'll probably do some kind of constructive thing. I was thinking about doing something on hair next, which is pretty easy. So maybe we'll do something else, like coloring or something, or just do another design one. I really like doing these. Tell me if this is too rambly or too incomprehensible. It's a slightly longer one. And yeah, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, cheers.